I'm putting rotted seaweed on these 6 garden beds that are approximately 45 feet long. I've reserved a 14-foot space in the back where I'm going to move the greenhouse. I ran into a little boulder here when I was digging up a pathway. All the soil that we brought in had like big rocks and little boulders that we had to dig up last season. On both days, you can see the trees shading a large portion of the garden in the afternoon. Hopefully, in a couple of weeks, the sun will be high enough so we don't get that much shading. But if we do, we'll need to cut down a few more trees. As I was doing my last load out to the garden of this rotted seaweed, I was actually starting to hit bottom. So I used about 2 feet. And we'll be expanding the garden, so I need more material, but I've got still this bin and also this bin full of material. Before we could go ahead and till the seaweed into the garden beds, I had to take time out and plant a few potatoes because they were getting really sprouty. So I got 4 apple boxes full of material to plant some potatoes. I put down a layer of sand and then followed by peat moss and seaweed mix, just rotted seaweed, and then topped off with peat moss and seaweed. The potatoes are going to be haidas, which are a traditional potato that was grown by the natives around here. And I got those from Peter, who's the potato guy here on Wrangell Island. And let's see, so I put them in these apple boxes. Obviously those are going to decay, but I was hoping that I can pull them forward in front of where the greenhouse is going to be, and then before they fall apart, I hopefully can make some containers around them. I've only got 6 potatoes, and I don't want to cut them into bits. Like this big one probably could be cut and planted a couple times, but I've just got these 4 boxes, so I'm going to do this one big one in here. I've got a couple smaller ones. I'll put 2 in there and then 1 each in the next couple of them. Before I plant these things, let me show you what they look like. Kind of almost a purple potato. So yeah, Peter had said that these taste really good and they also keep really well, which is important for me because I want to be able to eventually grow enough potatoes that it can last me all through the year till I get a new crop of potatoes. All I'm hoping for this year is that I get enough for seed potatoes for next year, maybe. I'm just going to cover these with Green-May, and hopefully it just helps hold in just a little bit of heat, even though I know these boxes are up above the ground, so maybe not help much. But it also keep any critters from, like birds or anything, getting interested in digging around in here. I also decided to look at seeding some onions that same day. I guess I was thinking that I would use the pelleted ones to direct seed outside, but then I was thinking right now that I'd like to plant some transplant and then plant them out when it's a little bit warmer. So it doesn't really make sense to do the pelleted ones. And then I was watching this video. William Coleman was talking about how to seed onions. He was talking about just taking 10 each, putting them all in the same hole, and then having them kind of grow together. And that's actually how the back of the seed packet says that you should be growing them if you're going to transplant them out. Just put a little bit of a little pocket for them to live in. And we're going to use the regular onion seeds. I've been planting, I plant things really carefully, and then I have those lettuce seeds, which I kind of just, covered with soil mix and watered in, and they came up fine. And so it makes me think that, I probably am spending way too much time seeding transplants, and that really I need to work on my technique. Onions and potatoes got planted April 1st, and then we tilled that night. When we got this old horse tiller years ago, it used to have a damaged motor, so it would shake a lot and quit all the time. And when it hit a boulder, it would take off running. So it was Tyler's job to drive it and mine to dig out the boulders. To start, it has to be in neutral, and then you turn the electric switch to on. The throttle has to be in turtle mode. The choke is off because it's already warm, and the fuel, of course, is on. Tyler put on this new Honda motor, so now it starts really easy and runs great. It looks like everything went along without incident, but that's actually not the case. The last time I went around that corner, there was a tarp on the ground, and I managed to chew it up into the tiller. So just got to remember that I need to leave plenty of room to turn that thing around. Also, you can see me kind of lifting it up and putting it back down because the seaweed on top of the beds would get kind of bunched up in front of the tines, and so I'd have to lift it up and put it back down. We got the garden tilled last night, and so I need to get that deer mesh fencing back up around here so I can keep those guys out. And because the plan is to plant today and tomorrow before it rains. A number of nights ago, I had a nightmare that I was being attacked by bears, and they actually do come out in the spring over here. We've seen them every year at the end of our property, so I started carrying my bear spray with me, and fortunately, I mean, I've got these dresses, they're from Patagonia, and they're pretty hideous, but at least they have pockets, so I carry my bear spray in one pocket and my phone in the other. So anyway, I'm gonna get to work putting fencing back up. I've got these screws drilled in just a little ways at the top, the middle, and the bottom of each of these fence posts all along here and around the garden so that I can just snag the mesh fencing on, and so I can move it whenever I need to. Okay, fence is up, done. After tilling and getting the fence up, I was able to do some direct seeding. I started by planting 25 feet of two varieties of sugar snap peas in that far west bed. I planted the next 4 beds as 30-inch by 30-inch trial plots just to see how each of the varieties will do this early in the season.
never ever get red dragon again. It's so freaking tiny. Can you guys see? Can you guys see? I just brought the 3 flats of basil down from the house to the greenhouse here. Let's take a closer look at germination. We're getting sporadic germination as expected. And let's take a look at the Italian kale. 3 flats of Italian kale. And germination is pretty good, actually. The scarlet kale, we've only got 1 little buddy coming up right there. And that's exactly what happened last season. And so I planted 2 seeds per cell in this flat, give it a better chance. And then we've got our Salanova lettuce. It's kind of hard to see the red ones in there, but they're all up except for 1 cell. And then we've got the green onions, which I just planted. So the scallions and the 3 flats of basil have been living in the greenhouse during the day and going up to the house at night. And the Italian kale and the lettuce have been living outside during the day, and I've moved them into the greenhouse at night, covered them in remay and a tarp because it had been freezing. But today everything is going to stay in the greenhouse because it is almost noon and it is 55 degrees in the greenhouse. It is 48 degrees Fahrenheit outside. 53 degrees in the greenhouse. Last night it started raining after a period of a ton of sunny, nice weather. It's now overcast and forecast to rain for a week or more.